great, and what a wonderful turnout. I'm really happy to be here. So let's get started. This is supposed to have some really fun music, but I just couldn't get it to work, and hopefully the rest of the slideshow will be a lot easier to manage. Okay, so we're going to discuss the advantages of applying techniques used in script writing and filmmaking to your novel writing. Script writing can greatly enhance versatility and storytelling prowess, and how using skills can complement each other. And my first script was written in, I believe it was 2009. And I'll tell you, I knew nothing about script writing. And I had written a novel, and I thought, well, I'm going to, do this short film, and I'm going to make a trailer out of it. Well, it didn't happen. But what I did learn is the valuable tools that come along with learning how to write a script, producing a film, directing a film, being involved with a film. So I don't know if you all know Michelle Hamilton. But I talked her into trying, writing a script, and she did Empty Nest, and it ended up taking all kinds of awards. It was just beautifully done, and she was just really wowed by the experience. So don't be afraid to try. You just have to keep trying and trying. If you don't make it the first time, there's always another. But you'll learn so much. So one of the things that was very valuable was pacing and tension. So screenplays move at a faster pace than novels, with each scene driving the plot forward. And novelists can learn to maintain a tighter narrative pace, ensuring that every chapter has purpose and momentum. And it's especially good with suspense. The techniques for building suspense and tension in screenwriting can be directly applied to novels, making stories more gripping and page-turning. And I'm going to give you an example. This is actually the first film that I ever wrote, that I ever produced, and it ended up winning audience favorite. It's about three women who have the power of telekinesis, and they don't know how to deal with it. And it sort of portrays how the gift affects their lives. Uh-oh, there's no sound.
Oh. Randy.
Oh no!
It shows muted.
Randy.
Uh-oh.
Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Uh-oh.
Is the TV?
He's coming.
The TV might be muted.
Yay, our hero. Make it go back.
Okay, I'll stop it. All right, let's try it again. Let me lower mine so we're not blasting out anything. Nope. There.
I'm going to teach him to push.
I hate Sacramento.
Listen, Mama, I'm sick. God needs her love.
Okay, so hopefully you notice something about the characters. Everybody has a conflict. Everybody's got something going on. And the difference between novel writing and filmmaking is that you actually get to see your words, coming out of somebody's mouth, and how they portray what you have written in the script. And I just got really lucky. These actresses were really good, especially the woman who plays the mom. I've had her in just about all my films because she is so good. But you get to see the inner conflict, by the expressions on their faces and everything. And that, transpires when you're writing. It almost comes out organically, how you visualize what the characters are going to look like, and then how they're going to, their body language and their expressions and stuff, and that you can transform into your novel writing. So let's see the next. All right, so visual and descriptive writing. Screenwriters hones your ability to think visually and focus on actions and dialogue that drive the plot forward. This skill can help novelists create more vivid and dynamic scenes naturally, which is what I just said. Screenplays are designed to create immediate visual and emotional impact, a skill that can help novelists grab and hold a reader's attention and breathe life into backstory and exposition through setting and dialogue. So this next example I'm going to show you is a story about a woman who hates Christmas. She makes it miserable for everybody. And it's a good example of how, you know, backstory can add to your writing. Now this one in particular, when you're doing flashbacks in film, they discourage too many, just like in novels, because you know you can get confused. So your flashbacks and your backstory have to they have to flow in such a way that you know you don't lose your audience. So this is a movie called The Story.
Daddy, come listen. This is my favorite part of the story. Where the three kings follow the star of Bethlehem and little drummer boy shares a skip to music. It's magic, Daddy.
I'm sorry, sweetheart, but Daddy's got to return to the store. If I don't get my shelf stocked, there's going to be a lot of disappointed customers.
But Daddy, it's Christmas Eve.
I know, sweetheart, but life doesn't always turn out the way you want it to. But it does turn out exactly the way it's supposed to. God has a plan.
I think Daddy's gonna deal with the last minute shoppers. Are you gonna be home for dinner?
As soon as I can. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't the two of you go pay the widow next door a visit? I haven't seen anyone stop by since she moved in. I'm sure she'd love the company.
That's a great idea. Nobody should be alone on Christmas Eve.
Oh, and you make sure you go to bed when Mom tells you to, okay, Millybug? And no waiting up for Santa.
Santa's bringing me a music box with a ballerina.
See you, gals.
Daddy!
Oops, I knew I forgot something.
I love you, Daddy.
Love you.
Okay, so what did you witness on the actress's face? What kind of feeling did you get?
A good
Anybody?
feeling.
So, I'm sorry.
A good feeling
A good-
with the family. A
Okay.
very good, caring family, even though the father had to go out and do his thing, he did care.
Okay. Did you see kind of her reflecting? And did you feel that there was any angst going on? Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that, you know, you get to witness when you're making a film or writing a screenplay, that, you know, you can, it almost comes, it pops up in your head when you're writing, because you see it. You start visualizing what your characters are feeling, what they look like, and how they behave. And you'll see that she's so different in all of the different films that I have. You'll get an idea of the different kind of characterization that you can develop from writing scripts. Okay, so this is Show Don't Tell. Screenwriting demands showing character traits and development through actions and dialogue, the technique that makes novel characters more dynamic and engaging. It also requires showing characters' internal conflicts, which we saw her internal conflict on her face, through their actions and dialogues rather than internal monologue. So this can help novelists explore new ways to convey character depth and development. So, I don't know how many of you struggle when you're writing a novel to figure out, what your character is feeling and how to convey that to your reader. So that kind of it's an advantage when you write a script or make a film, that you have more tools to work with. Okay, so, this one, okay, same actors. This is Little Thieves. This is a story about a woman who has a propensity to attract people who steal from her.
Are these your films?
Yes.
So you made these? You
Yes.
produced them? Okay.
Yes. So these are just trailers, and I'll explain. Trailers are like a synopsis for your film. They're just little short clips that highlight all the intense moments in your film that you want to attract your viewers. The same, as when you write, a little blurb that you want to attract your readers. So this one's called Little Thieves. And I want you to pay attention to the characters, their expressions, their demeanor, and what you think you're learning from watching them.
All I have is quiet.
Now open it.
Whatever you say. Need help find the guy who wrote Aunt Ida?
Do we have to stay with her? She's so weird. Promise me you'll behave. Duh, I don't want to disappear.
It's been a while. How you been?
Hey, I'm sorry I haven't kept in touch.
Right when you opened up your purse, everything got real bright.
It's one thing I will not tolerate. It's a person who steals from me.
You can't steal the money from me out of his purse. Don't be a baby, Daisy.
If you ever need anything, you just ask. Because it's better than becoming a little thief. Okay?
She's funny. Okay, so this is what actually went on in that movie. Was she had this purse, and all the people that stole from her ended up in the purse.
Oh.
And she kept it on a shelf in her closet, and the two little girls find the purse. And then you see all the people inside the purse trying to get out. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to do. But there's so many things that you can do, in a screenplay, and I really recommend everybody. If you haven't written a screenplay, or it's not in your wheelhouse that you want to do something like that, at least try to attend a production and watch how the mechanics work and how the actors breathe the life into the words of the writer, because it's such a different experience and it's really cool. Okay, so this is an example of a creative comprehension contest that I was a part of. So the first part of the contest was the writer had to come up with a full page of dialogue, random dialogue, and once the writer was chosen, then all the filmmakers had to make films that followed the script the same exact order, word for word, and we had to come up with a plot, which was a really good exercise. So something you can do at home with either your novel writing, or if you want to try a screenplay, just write some lines down and then create a story around the dialogue. So it's random, but I wanted to share it with you because I'm going to show you what we did with it, and I'm going to go over the script and show you how it was written. So the first line, do I have to ask again? How many times do I have to say it? I'll let you know once I believe you. I don't have time for this. I don't think you know what you're doing. At least I still have my dignity. So what comes to mind, just hearing those lines? Anything? Anybody have any ideas of what you could do? Yes?
Somebody who's very defensive.
Okay. And what about a plot? What genre would...
Oh. I was thinking of two people that might be having an argument.
Mm-hmm.
Marital
That's good.
conflict.
Yeah.
I was thinking mother-daughter. I
Okay.
was
Teenage
thinking
daughter.
husband and wife. Yeah.
Okay, see all the ideas that pop into your head just with these few lines. Okay, so this is the first segment. And here's the, okay, this is scene 2. Hey, that's mine. I guess you should have put your name on it. The least you could do would be to say thank you. The only reason that I can sleep at night is because I know that one of these days an asteroid's going to crash into this planet, obliterating everything, and none of this will mean anything. You are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? What do you do with that?
It's a sister against a sister.
Okay, there you go. That's good. That's good. So I can't tell you how many, I think there was 9 films, and they were all so different and so unusual. It was really a lot of fun. Okay, so we broke it down into three scenes, and I read the first one. This was the second one, and the third one. First impressions, I've seen better. What about this? Okay, you've got my attention. I've never known anyone like you. The world's full of people like me. If that were true, would I go through all this effort? How about we make a deal? No deals, it's just the way it is. I'd really like some waffles. You are unbelievable. Okay, that last one was a dilly. You know, it's like, what do you do with this? So there were so many different fun ideas that came out of this. So now I'm going to show you how the screenplay was formatted and what we did with it. So we had filmed at Baker Street West, which is Sherlock Holmes Museum, and we had a really good time filming there. Everybody was wonderful, and when we saw the script, because they don't tell you what you're going to do, you just have to sign up, and then you get the script, and you go, and then you have like days.
I'm sorry, what organization are you talking about?
I'm sorry, this was the California Film Arts and Alliance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had the contest.
I see.
So it was in 2 parts.
I see.
But the filmmakers had to sign up before we knew what the dialogue was going to be.
Got it.
Okay, you didn't get your dialogue till everybody was signed up. So we came up with a Sherlock Holmes theme because Sherlock Holmes is pretty quirky. And it worked out really well. So we have the first line is your location. So that's, sorry. This is interior, 221B Baker Street, day. So all of your formatting when you write a screenplay, if you use an app or something, I've got one at the end that you can download. It'll show you how to structure all your formatting for your screenplay. So Sherlock Holmes is turning over papers and moving stuff around, looking for matches for his pipe. Dr. Watson sits in a chair, sipping tea and watching him, until Mrs. Hudson walks in carrying toast. Holmes is visibly annoyed with the morning fare. Holmes, to Mrs. H., do I have to ask again? As Mrs. Hudson walks past Holmes, she replies, how many times do I have to say it? She picks up Holmes' deerstalker cap, Inverness cloak, and passes through the secret door leading to the bedroom. To himself, Holmes says, I'll let you know once I believe you. Mrs. Hudson overhears his remark, rolls her eyes, and closes the door. Holmes shouting lyrically, I don't have time for this. Holmes is flustered. Watson rises, humored by the exchange. Helping himself to a piece of toast, he says to Sherlock, I don't think you know what you're doing. Holmes looks at the toast with disdain. Holmes condescending, at least I still have my dignity. Holmes reopens the secret passage. Watson picks up his tea and toast and follows in his wake. As Holmes enters the bedroom, Mrs. Hudson holds up his trousers. Holmes spots his matches in his pants pocket and plucks them out, holds them to his ear, shakes the box, and walks past Mrs. Hudson without a word. Mrs. Hudson's annoyance is apparent. Watson shrugs and catches up with Holmes. As Watson exits the room, we zoom in on the Inverness cloak and deerstalker hanging up near the doorway. And then we cut to the next scene. Now this is the interior boat hall, day, and Holmes sits down in front of the vanity and begins rummaging for his glass. So when you're doing a screenplay, your characters in the first, when you introduce them, they're all capitalized. Your props if you want them to stand out, they're capitalized, and your locations, have their own part. And when it breaks everything down, you'll get a character list, a props list, and your locations list. Okay, so Mrs. Hudson enters with the cloak and cap. She notices Watson is holding her mother's teacup and grabs the china out of his hand. Mrs. Hudson says, "Hey, that's mine." Distracted but sarcastically to Mrs. H, Holmes says, "I guess you should have put your name on it." So here you can kind of get an idea of where we're going with all the different lines that we had to put into this, this plot in this script. Mrs. Hudson is looking for an apology from Watson for helping himself to her china. The least you could do would be to say, and then I broke that line up, "Thank you." The two men start putting on their cloaks, and Holmes says, and this is that real big line, but it just works so beautifully with this character. "The only reason that I can sleep at night is because I know that one of these days," and Sherlock reaches for his famous deerstalker hat, he pulls the cap down, emphasizing anything. "An asteroid's going to crash into this planet, obliterating everything, and none of this will mean anything." The two men exit abruptly. We pause to catch a glimpse of the street through the open door. Mrs. Hudson closes the door and says, "You are unbelievable." She shakes her head and she exits. And then we transition to the murder scene. And this was in the interior gentleman's lounge day. Holmes and Watson enter the gentleman's lounge to see a dead body propped up in a chair. The victim is sitting erect, eyes open, with an arrow protruding from the middle of his forehead. There is no blood. And for those of you who write mysteries, you kind of know what no blood means, right? The body's been there for a while. Watson sets his bag down and says, "First impressions?" Sherlock says, "I've seen better." Okay, Watson removes his handkerchief and picks up the glass that appears to be whiskey sitting on the chessboard. He takes a whiff and holds it under Holmes's nose. "What about this?" Sherlock takes a whiff and makes a face. "Okay, you've got my attention." Sherlock retrieves his looking glass from his breast pocket and examines the whiskey glass closely. He sets it down, stuffs the doctor's handkerchief in his own pocket, and begins his investigation. He looks about the room for clues in a methodical way, looking through the glass from time to time, measuring the length of the arrow, counting off the steps from the body to the doorway. In between examining the body, Dr. Watson observes. Now, that's a pretty sizable block of action, but there's no dialogue in there. So you want to make sure that your characters are always moving, they're always doing something, and you have to instruct them. Watson says, "I've never known anyone like you." Close-up of Sherlock looking through his eyeglass for clues. He lowers the glass. "The world is full of people like me." Dr. Watson opens his medical bag, extracting his stethoscope. Dr. Watson says, "If that were true, would I go through all this effort?" Watson examines the head, turning it from side to side. Before the doctor examines the back of the head, he reaches for his handkerchief, remembering he gave it to Holmes, and says, "How about we make a deal?" Sherlock hands Watson his handkerchief. "No deals. This is just how it is." Now that's sort of a British thing. They don't, you don't need to apologize. You don't need to go on and on here. That's just the way it is. So Watson examines the back of the dead man's head. Sherlock examines the headless chest piece. He sets it back down, and we do a close-up as he tilts his head in contemplation and says, "I'd really like some waffles." Okay. And then both men put on their hats and walk towards the door of the room. We zoom in on the body in the chair, and as Watson says, "You are unbelievable." So that was the last line. So and then the outro, Mrs. Hudson is at the table making waffles. In the background, Sherlock was supposed to be sitting at the table, so that you got the gist of the whole thing. He was annoyed because she had made him waffles. He did not want toast. But you see his deerstalker. The actor had to go home, so we couldn't shoot that scene, which was it was like a real bummer. But we had the hat on the chair, so it worked. We knew he was back. Anyway, so The screenwriters are,
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
How much time did you have between when you were given the dialogue, had to come up with a plot, and created all of this? Because it's very impressive
thank you.
what you did.
I think it's like maybe a month.
Oh, really? Okay, so there's a
Yeah,
time.
okay.
Right, so you have, you know, you have a few days to write the script, and then you have a few weeks to film.
Okay.
And fortunately, we had a location already, which came with wardrobe, actors, and the most beautiful setting ever.
Wow.
Which is the reason for the fundraiser, because this place was like not only a movie set, museum, it was just a phenomenal, phenomenal place. Have anybody ever been there?
Where?
Baker Street West in Jackson? The Sherlock Holmes Museum?
Yeah.
Well, it hopefully will raise enough money so that they can resurrect it in the old courthouse building, because if you love Sherlock Holmes, this is the place to visit. Everybody in character, everything is authentic. You can go from room to room and, you know, visit your favorite stories, because they have incorporated so many of Sherlock Holmes' writings into the whole museum.
Interesting.
Yes.
I noticed that in your script writing, and I know that you're producing your own video and you're giving your own directions, but in a lot of the screen types of things that I had been involved in, you're not supposed to write any camera action at all in your script, because that is totally up to what the director does, and he will fill in the camera descriptions, like the close-up,
The close-up, yes.
all that stuff.
So I wanted to put in there because you'll see what we do. And I was directing it, so,
Okay.
so
You were directing
I
it.
took liberty
Uh-huh.
of putting some of the things, because I wanted to make sure that we got those shots. And, okay, so screenwriters are adept at constructing scenes that convey a lot with minimal description. As you saw, those action tags weren't very large. That are rich in detail yet concise, focusing on key elements that drive the story forward. In the scene transitions, their seamless transitions between scenes and screenplays can inspire novelists to think more critically about how they move between chapters or sections of their book. Now that's something I do in my writing. My scenes are very short, and I go from one character to the next. And fortunately, you know, I've been able to pull it off that nobody gets lost. And I think it's because I keep them in such a way that they're relevant. They're always relevant, not only to the character, but to the plot. So I am going to show you, this is a 6-minute film, and this was shot on an iPhone of all things, so which was really kind of cool. And we have won over 30 awards worldwide for this little tiny film. And we actually, for the CFA contest, we won audience favorite and best film. So,
The CFA is the California Filmmakers Alliance?
right. I've got it at the end, and I think it's on your handout. They're an
CFA,
organization.
Capital Film.
Capital Film.
Oh, okay, so what you were showing us earlier, that whole thing
Was their
it happened in
contest.
Sacramento. I mean,
Yes.
this is a Sacramento group of film writers
Right.
who came up with a dialogue, and then everybody went out and created a plot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you had to sign up ahead of time, so you didn't know what you were getting. So that was the challenge. You know, nobody could, and it had to be word for word exactly how it was written, or you got disqualified. So that was challenging, because actors like to live and say, no, you have to say it this way. You know, and making that dialogue fit into, you know, an 1897 type of setting was a little challenging. And Holmes would say, well, we don't talk that way. So, well, you do now. So I'm going to show you the film.
Do I have to ask again? How many times do I have to say it?
I'll let you know once I believe you.
I don't have time for this.
I don't think you know what you're doing.
At least I still have my dignity.
Hey, that's mine.
I guess you should have put your name on it.
The least you could do would be to say,
Thank you. The only reason that I can sleep at night is because I know that one of these days an asteroid's gonna crash into this planet, obliterating everything. And none of this will mean anything.
you are unbelievable.
First impressions?
I've seen better.
That's the maceration.
What about this?
Okay, you've got my attention.
I've never known anyone like you.
The world's full of people like me.
If that were true, would I go through all this effort? How about we make a deal?
No deals. This is just how it is. I'd really like some waffles.
You are unbelievable.
And there's the deer stalker in the cloak.
There's a what?
The deer stalker in the
Yeah.
cloak, so you know he's there. So the steam coming off of that waffle iron is a special effect.
dialogue?
There was one that was really super cute. It was about two jewel thieves who robbed somebody at a party, and then they ended up in bed, and the jewel was underneath the pillow, and in the morning, the jewel was gone. And then it was like back and forth between the two of them, stealing this jewel back and forth. And at the end, he had stolen it back. She was a little, intrigued, but not happy about it. And then they ended up at a park, and he proposed to her with the jewel and a ring. It was really cute. They won, I think they won for something. But it was a really cute story. But I think we had the advantage because, the setting and the fact that we did it on an iPhone.
You did that on an iPhone?
We did that on an iPhone.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, we had lighting and we had a sound
Which,
person.
by the way, I'd like to comment, the use of lighting was
Yeah.
really very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I didn't care what the actors were doing, I was taking them to light. It was wonderful.
Was it on a gimbal, the iPhone?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on a gimbal, so that made it a lot easier. But, we had filmed in there before, and because we had such little time to film in there, in the premises, setting up all the equipment, and my friend that I work with, Tim Walton, he's an excellent award-winning cinematographer. He brings out everything, and he's got a red camera, and the space in the, we wanted to utilize as many places that we could, and that place had secret passages, like the boat hold was very tiny, so getting camera equipment in there and setting up and everything, it just would have been too hard to do. So we opted for the iPhone, which I thought, came off pretty darn well, because Tim does all the lighting.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the camera angles. I was watching all the different camera angles. So how did you shoot that? Basically, you shot it in the segments and then edited it all together?
Yeah. So there's a rule of thumb. You usually do your establishing wide shot, your medium shot, and your close-up.
And your close-ups.
Yeah. So my favorite was the close-up of...
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Yes.
I hate to get too far in the weeds, but this is your film, I can broadcast that.
Yes. Yes, you may. Yes. So, okay, let's move on. But thank you. Let's see. But you can see how the script, everybody followed the script really closely, and it just brought it to life. It may not have seemed like a whole lot, but once they start...
So you as director, were you telling your actors how you visioned the scene, or did you allow them to improvise using their own acting ability?
Their own acting ability, but the dialogue, I was because it had to be, otherwise we'd get disqualified if the dialogue wasn't exact.
Yeah. But how, if they use their own acting ability, how did you get the camera to get the exact shots that you wanted and to film their improvs as they were going around?
Okay, so first we did a table read, and everybody kind of got a gist of what they would be doing, and then we do rehearsals where we block.
Okay.
So we go over the blocking and say, you're going to go here, you're going to go there, and sometimes it doesn't work out how we think it's going to in our head until we're on the premises and we see exactly how the actors are going to behave. And sometimes they have better ideas because they act, they've been doing it for a long time. So there are a couple ideas, like Joe with the toast and the teacup. I mean, he was so good. And and Sherlock Holmes, which is John Lee, he was really good at his character. And because they were both in character at all times, it just made it really easy to direct them. So this next one is we're going to talk about dialogue. Screenwriting emphasizes sharp, impactful dialogue, which can enhance novel writing by ensuring conversations are engaging and purposeful. But you saw in the last thing, we broke all the rules with that dialogue. It was just outrageous, but we made it work. The ability to explore subtext and inner monologues in novels can help screenwriters craft more layered and meaningful dialogue. So this one is Afternoon Delight was a script that I wrote. It was based on my mother. My mom was just gorgeous, and she was a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids. We lived in this little village, and when she would dress up and go stand at the bus stop, everybody would talk about her. You know, the tongues would be wagging, and where is she going? You know, who is she meeting? You know, all this nasty stuff because she was so pretty. They didn't know how insecure she was, and she, you know, she just really didn't want to make a bad impression when she went outside the house. Because not only that, but, you know, it was kind of a nice change from, you know, changing diapers and being with kids all day. You know, she got to dress up and be a human person. So, but they talked about her a lot, which was kind of funny. What they didn't know was my mother was either going to the dentist or to the bakery, because my mother loved cake. So this is just a little homage to my mother.
Do you have anything planned for today?
Oh, I don't know. Going to town, do a little shopping. Why?
Well, you're glowing, so I thought maybe you had something special planned.
Must be the heat from the stove. Paul? It's Janine.
Good. See you. A tissue. I take your nose with me all day.
What?
I wonder where she's going. I guarantee you, she's not going to church.
So the whole thing was, you can either watch it online, but she was going to pick up his birthday cake.
Oh.
So it was kind of a fun thing to do. But if you notice, you know, yes?
Afternoon Delight. In all of your films, your music is perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means, you know, that means a lot hearing that. And it also, when I see the finished product, if the music isn't right, it just doesn't, it doesn't work for me. You know, and we change it until it flows.
Did you have to hire someone because you can't like?
No, my editor is very good at picking out music. Or I'll go in and I'll pick it out and say, you know, this is what I want to use. In the one that we're doing right now, we actually had a composer from Jackson who is doing our music, most of it. So sometimes we do, you know. So let me talk a little bit before I go further about a place called Sacramento. So in March, they call for submissions, and you submit a 10-minute film, which is usually about 9 to 10 pages. And then they pick the winning scripts, they pick 10. And then in May, they have a cast and crew call where people come out, producers, directors, cinematographers, sound people, actors, craft services, the whole 9 yards. They come out and they offer to volunteer to make your film.
Wow.
So that's how I started. So I had all these volunteers working on my films. And some of them came out really, really good. Some of them I wasn't that happy with, some of the parts of it. But, you know, people are volunteering their time. You say thank you, and you learn, and you move on to the next project. So this one I was very happy with. We won a lot of awards for Afternoon Delight. It was kind of cute, and the ending was a real surprise to everybody. Where was I going with that? Okay, so after, you know, that's a really good way to get a film made, or if you're a beginner and you've written a script that you think that you can, you know, that would really look good on the screen, by all means submit it. The only thing they can do is tell you no, and most of the time they will send it back with remarks from the judges on what they didn't like, or, you know, what you could have done better, and, you know, it's a learning experience. So, okay. Have Having the ability to think visually and focus on actions and dialogue that drive the plot forward encourages a deep exploration of characters' inner thoughts and emotions. This can enrich your novel by providing a more nuanced understanding of characters. And, what does that look like? So when you're writing, and you've got a character in mind, do you visualize them? Do you visualize the color of their hair, their eyes? How do they part their hair? How do they stand? Do they slouch? Are they stiff? Your female characters, what is the length of their hair? Do they tuck it behind their ear? Do they wear makeup? Do they, how do they carry themselves? What kind of clothes do they wear? There's so many different things that you can incorporate. So when I make a movie, and I'm lucky because I get to be in charge of all that. I get to be in charge of what my actors are going to wear. And in Afternoon Delight, the actress wore my mother's dress. That's one of the dresses that people would talk about her when she wear. And it was just, she could wear goodies, I can look good in it. It's just, not her fault. But there was nothing, overtly about it that was wrong. It was just a really sharp looking dress. It was just a little sundress. So anyway, but these are all things that you can take into consideration, while you're writing your novels. So this is Borrowed Time, and this is a behind the scenes. So I'm going to show you a little bit of what a set looks like, what a scene looks like. And this one, I first wrote Borrowed Time as a short story, and then I made it into a short film. And then the character would not get out of my head, and I ended up I'm on my 4th novel using the same character, Suzanne Cash, who is a woman who developed psychic powers after being shot, thrown in a pool, and left for dead. In this particular, the short story and the short film, though, she became a healer. And it was good for a short story and a short film, but it wasn't sustainable for a series of novels. So I changed her from being a healer, a hands-on healer, to a psychic. But in this particular scene, this is where Suzanne Cash is being shot and thrown in the pool and left for dead. And then we'll cut to where she's underwater and her deceased fiance saves her. So it's a paranormal thing. But you get an idea of the labor and intensity that goes into making it.
Stand by. Rolling.
Roll 2, scene 3D, take 1.
This is before color correction and all that stuff.
Cut, that's good.
Okay.
So now he's going to do
Speed.
a close-up.
Rolling.
Quiet, please. Roll 3, scene 3G, take 3.
Action.
Suzanne Cash. See that poppy feed my patience will save your life.
Cut. Stand by. Rolling. Speed.
Roll 4, scene 3K, take 1.
Action.
Save your life.
Bang.
You only get to do that once.
Cut.
Beautiful.
Okay, now she's under the water. We had to put rocks in her dress because she wouldn't stay down. And we had divers that were doing
Yeah, divers for what?
For safety.
Oh.
So the couple that filmed that did Planet Earth on PBS. Okay, so there's Jack. That's her fiance. He was killed in Iraq.
Oh, so he was dead and he was saving it?
He was dead, yeah. So in the movie, they actually did the editing to make him look more like a ghost.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you have anybody that was matching action from scene to scene?
We have somebody who works on continuity.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me, how each of those were filmed, and then what did your person who worked with continuity have to do with each segment that you filmed?
Well, what they do is the director will usually say which shot he liked the best. So they're looking through the camera, they can see whether it's clear, whether they've got everything in frame, and they'll usually tell the person who's keeping track of the scenes which take was the best. And then the editor, when they go through and edit it, they pick out the best scenes. So there's the person who writes it, there's the person who directs it, and then there's the person who edits it. So you end up with 3 different stories sometimes. Fortunately, when I have control of my own films, I get to say so of what happens. And I'm working with someone who we're always on the same page, and we know what's going to happen, in the editing room. So it's where I worked with a different director on this one. Some of the scenes I wasn't happy with. And the underwater scenes were beautiful, and we had some really cool music that went underneath there. And she was, it prolonged for quite some time before, he saved her. So what I'm going to go to next, and
stand by.
Okay, so the series I wrote, you saw the underwater scene, and you saw the actress. You can visualize her, or you can visualize somebody else. But this is the way it was written. So I took the script, the movie, and now I'm putting it into my own words to make a novel. Suzanne opened the gate to the pool area and paused. It was dark, too dark. She must have gotten turned around. She stopped to listen. Footsteps? "Don't be paranoid," she mumbled, and inched her way towards the pool's eerie glow. She reached inside her purse for her cell phone, about to dial her husband, Ben, when an arm snaked around her neck and a large hand covered her mouth. He pressed something hard beneath her right shoulder blade. She heard a pop. A sharp pain pierced her. Hot breath filled her ear. "You shouldn't have meddled." Suzanne detached herself from the pain. Her body descended to the bottom of the pool. So much blood. Okay, so you can see how your script writing, your filmmaking can transpire into novel writing. And then this is the part where she's saved. "Come," he said, reaching for her hand. She didn't resist. Something about him made her feel spontaneous, daring. He led her to a patch of flat ground. "Turn around," he said. Suzanne stood with her back to the virgin snow, arms stretched wide. "Ready?" he asked. "On my count. 1, 2, 3. She let go, falling. "Snow angels." Suzanne blocked out the shrill of sirens, savoring the moment when Jack turned to her, his eyes filled with a promise of something more, a future. Cold, she closed her eyes. No longer falling, floating. Jack, my first love. So while she was drowning, she went back into her past where she met Jack and how she fell in love with him. So that was just sort of cutting the in-between. But you can see how you can, embellish a script into a beautiful novel and vice versa. You can take, little bits and pieces and, make a really impactful movie.